Hey guys, it is April from Getting Her Go With It. Today I wanted to talk to you about fertility stuff and where things are at now. So in early April, I went back into the fertility clinic. They wanted me to do some baseline tests again. They always ask you to do that after a pregnancy. So that consisted of some blood work. It consisted of like an internal ultrasound earlier on in the cycle, and that's to check for things like your follicle count. A little later on in your cycle, they ask you to do this other ultrasound. It's like an internal ultrasound, but they put saline solution into your uterus. Sometimes they'll put it through your tubes as well to make sure there aren't any blockage and just to see like what's the state. So I went and did that in March, and then in early April, I went in to go and see my doctor. I forced Barry to come along with me because I didn't force him. I just asked him to come along with me because I was finding it really emotional, strangely emotional. It was really weird to do the first ultrasound where I saw my uterus for the first time and there was no baby there, and I knew that there was going to be no baby there, but it really affected me. So I said, Barry, could you please come with me going forward to our appointment because I just want you there. So this appointment was to kind of go over all of that and to talk about IVF and our plan for IVF. So I went in and there was good and bad news. So I'll start with the bad news just to get it over with. That second ultrasound that I did where they did the saline solution through, they looked at my uterus and they were not happy with it. So after my miscarriage, now if you're new to my channel, I had a miscarriage right after Christmas, and essentially it was a missed miscarriage, which essentially means that the baby wasn't coming out on its own. It was just inside me. And so they had to go in and do a D&C, which is a surgery where they remove the contents of your uterus after the baby has passed. So sometime during my miscarriage / D&C, I don't know whether something happened during the D&C or whether my uterus didn't heal very well, but it's essentially just scar tissue inside. It looks horrendous. I saw this like this shot of my uterus. The doctor had this like kind of aerial shot, and he's like, so here's your uterus, and there was this tiny hole in it, and he's like, this hole is where it's clear and there's no scar tissue. So the rest of it was all scar tissue. So I have to go back in for surgery in later May. I am going to attempt to vlog it, not the surgery itself because I'm going to be out, but I'm going to kind of vlog the feelings that I'm having and me along the way. You know, we'll see, maybe I'll change my mind, but that's the plan. So they have to go back in and do surgery to get that opened up. He said that there's like no risk to my health at all just right now, staying as is with all the scar tissue, but he said it's going to be enormously difficult to get pregnant this way. So when they go in for the surgery, first they're going to try to do it with more saline solution. So they're going to go in and kind of blast it with saline solution, and they're hoping that it will just go like open up basically, and all that tissue will be gone. That's their aim. If that doesn't completely work, they'll go in and kind of shave away all of the scar tissue just so that my uterus is back to being normal. And I knew that there was something wrong. I honestly panicked after my my miscarriage because when I did get my period back, it was dramatically different. It was much shorter. It has been much shorter. It's been rather light and strange and just not at all my normal period. Usually my period is like 4 days long. This is 3 days long and just looks dramatically different on the pad. So I will be eager to have normal periods again. I had started worrying, oh my God, you know, I just had a miscarriage and now I'm going through menopause. Like, I really thought that that was happening, which, you know, my mom went through menopause in her early 40s. And so I'm, you know, 37 now and really worried that that's going to happen. So of course the inner dialogue in my head was going crazy. All that to say, it was my uterus that needs some help. So that's the bad news. I'm going for surgery, which is never fun. I have to take some time off of work. It's on a Thursday. So I'll take Thursday, Friday off, and I should be good again to go by Monday, but he actually told me to take a whole week off. But I just I can't take off that much time at work. I just don't like doing that. So yes, so that's the bad news. The good news, I'm really trying to focus on the good news. So the first test that I did, where it was ultrasound, and they're looking at your follicles and how many follicles you have at that point. So I had done this test before. I'd done it in January, I think 2017. And at that time I had 11 follicles. And having 11 follicles for someone at 36 suggests that you have low ovarian reserve. And that's not great. You really don't want to have low ovarian reserve when you're doing things like IVF, because you don't react as well to the drugs. So it's not ideal, and that has caused me a lot of grief and worry and blame and guilt, and I've just layered it on myself, just thrown it all on myself. But I found out that between January 2017 and March 2018, well, I've gotten a year older, and I also jumped up in my follicle count to 15. So I went from 11 to 15, and 15 puts me in normal. So it's not great normal, but it's not like low ovarian reserve normal. So essentially he said, this is great because, you know, it does vary from month to month. But he said it's really great to see it go up, because it could have gone down. I was so nervous to find out my follicle count, because I was like, I had 11, now I might have 9. Like, and you don't usually, you can't grow more follicles, really. It's not something that you can grow, but it apparently does vary from month to month. And so the fact that it's varying up instead of down is just the most enormous relief. It's so, so great that that's the case, because now I feel like the pressure that I've had on myself, the guilt that I've had, is really starting to reduce, and I feel a lot more hopeful for IVF. I just genuinely feel really, really good about that. I don't know why I have 4 more follicles. And there's nothing to say that, you know, the next time I go in and do that test, I might have 11 or 12 or 9. I don't know. But the fact that it is varying up just is a huge relief to me. So that is kind of where we're at now. This is going to shift when we do IVF. We had hoped to do IVF in June. Now it's probably going to be more like July. I'm assuming more like August, which is totally fine. I don't mind waiting a little while. I'd rather have a healthy, happy home for a baby to live in. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So surgery's on the way. The other thing that I've been, you know, kind of working through is how I've been feeling about my miscarriage. I've really struggled since my miscarriage, and I've recently gotten into a much better place, a much better place. I don't know if anyone of you have heard of Byron Katie, but she poses 4 questions to people. She writes a lot of like self-help books, and I found her online on YouTube. She has a YouTube channel, and I'll link that down below. And I watched her kind of go through these 4 questions that essentially you're supposed to ask yourself every time you have a stressful thought, a thought that's staying with you and haunting you. Essentially, you're supposed to stop and ask 4 questions. And I believe that they are: is it true? Do you know that it's really true? When you have that thought, how does that make you feel? And who would you be if you didn't have that thought? And she sat down with a woman who had lost her only daughter in a horrible car accident. And she actually witnessed her daughter die in the car accident. It was instant death. And she was really obviously struggling with her daughter being gone. And Byron and Katie went through all of these questions with her and really helped this woman. And as she was going through that, I was going through how I was feeling about my miscarriage, about losing my baby. And I just feel so much better. I realized that I was putting a lot of pressure on my baby to be anything but the soul, the little baby that he or she was during those 9 weeks, 4 days that they were alive. And every time that I was thinking, I wish my baby didn't die. Why did my baby have to die? I miss my baby. I miss having my baby inside of me. Every time I was doing that, and I still feel those things, but when I was hunkering down in them and settling down in them and getting too cozy with them, I was basically saying, those 9.5 weeks that you were alive, baby, that wasn't enough. And that's not true. That is more than enough. I would redo all of it 100 times just for those 9.5 weeks. So my baby was perfect the way that it was. And I don't get to change that, and I shouldn't change that, because that was my experience, and I need to move forward in my life to be a better person for it. And I'm starting to get there. It's starting to sink in. I'm starting to read a lot more self-help. In the morning, I'm waking up, pouring myself a huge glass of water and sitting down with self-help and reading like a little chapter every single day. And it's helping. It just feels so much more positive. As soon as I went through that little, practice exercise in my head about the miscarriage, it changed everything. So, lots of stuff going on. Lots of internal work going on, and of course lots of physical work that will be going on with my surgery, but yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a little update about what's going on with me, and stay tuned. I will hopefully do some kind of a surgery vlog. I don't even know what that would look like because I'm asleep most of the time. I planned this and now I'm starting to go but anyway, we'll see what happens. I hope that you guys are doing really well. Thank you again so much for caring about my fertility and just caring for me throughout the miscarriage and ever since then. And I just really appreciate you guys. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.